drama school end of year show stuff. This is legit. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I went to see Hamilton. So we're sat in our seats.
Yes, we are. And Hamilton!
Yeah. I went to see Hamilton. Finally. It's only been, what, like 4 years? The day I'm filming this is the day after my birthday. For my birthday / Christmas, Josh, my partner, bought me tickets to Hamilton. So I finally got to see it and, yeah. Lots of feelings. We'll get into that. But I thought, seeing as I've seen it, I'll make a video about it, just saying a bit what it's like. I didn't know what this video was going to be. I didn't know if I'd have a lot of critical thoughts that I'd have to make notes for, or if I'd just have feelings and spew them. We're going with feelings and spew them, so I might spoil things. So if you haven't seen the show and you haven't listened to the cast recording and you don't want it spoiled, then don't watch this video because I might spoil something and I don't want you guys to be annoyed at me because I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. General thoughts. It was amazing. It was amazing. I cried like 6 times. Josh was able to get stalls tickets. We were quite close to the front and I would just be interested to know what the experience is like in the dress or upper circle. I mean, I'll never know now. I've experienced it for the first time, so it's not going to be the same. But it would be interesting to know if in another life, if we were at the back of the grand instead of in the stalls, if I would have been as emotionally connected to the characters enough to have that kind of emotional reaction. Do you know what I mean? They don't do staggered bows. They do a company bow, everyone together. I love the fact that it was a company bow. It really does feel like an ensemble piece. Every single member of that company is fully committing and adding to the experience. It was great to see such a mix of different talents on stage all working together to make one thing. It's very egalitarian. Loved it. In terms of the staging with the ensemble, it is very dancey, but it's not like dancey. I was thinking about this on the way home. It's kind of like if physical theatre and hip hop / street dance had a baby and it was brought up by Gillian Lynn. If that makes any sense. There are moments that are very physical theatre, like the company using their body to tell the story. There are bits that are obviously more hip-hop and street dance. That's the style of the music, if you didn't know. But there are also bits that are very like showgirly and kind of Fosse-esque kind of flares in there. But it all felt like part of one world. It didn't feel like bitty or anything like that. It all kind of melded together into one beautiful cocktail of using bodies to tell stories. I loved the costume design as well. The ensemble all being in kind of like beige and the women in like corsets. They're obviously not real corsets because the way they're moving, they have no boning. And like corsets with leggings, but I loved that the corsets are all different designs. I just love that little touch. I also love that the vast majority of actors had natural hair. I think there were a couple of characters who had wigs. I think the woman playing Eliza was wearing a wig, just judging by her headshot, and I thought I could see the lace of a wig, but I think the vast majority of people had their natural hair and they had like a mix of different hairstyles. Like there was a woman in the ensemble that had like space buns, or I think there were space buns rather than bantus. People had braids. The guys had like afro hair. Some guys were shaven hair. It was just nice that it wasn't like wigs and nothing looked pristine, because obviously their hair got messy. They were moving around that stage, but like it was just nice. It was because usually West End show everyone's wearing a wig. Is that attention to detail? I think that's a thing that elevates this. It was the attention to detail, and it's stuff where like you might not even notice it. The music was great. Obviously it was interesting hearing what things were pre-recorded and what things were live. In terms of all of the singing was live, but listening to the cast recording, you don't know if all of that would be sung live in the show or some bits would be pre-recorded. Some of the echoes the company did, some of the echoes it was clearly they just put massive delay on that particular word on the mics when they were performing it, things like that. It was just, there's interesting things that you're never going to know until you see the show that aren't particularly important, but I just geeked out about it because I'm a nerd. One of the things that I really loved was watching the cast perform the lyrics. Like, when you listen to the cast recording, you're mostly like, these tunes are bomb, and they are, but it was just lovely watching actors perform the lyrics and just having that extra layer of seeing what those characters are going through and seeing their struggles, seeing them come up with those lyrics, like seeing the thoughts land. And it actually, for a lot of the time, it made lots of the lyrics so much clearer. Yeah, it was just beautiful to watch. It was I'm speechless. It was just beautiful. Let's go on to performances. Have the programme, because of course I do. Carl Queensborough as Hamilton was phenomenal. As an actor, it can be easy to feel that pressure to like live up to what's gone before you. And when what's gone before you is the originator of the show, that's kind of a big deal. And you're speaking words obviously that aren't yours, so that's one of the jobs of an actor, is to make those words your own. And he did that so well. I believed him throughout the whole show. I was just there with him, even when he does shady stuff and you're like, what? I understood and I felt with him. And yeah, his performance was phenomenal. Other people who were incredible include, like, I mean, everyone was incredible. Trevor Dion Nicholas was playing the guy with the fighting, George Washington. Was playing George Washington. He was great. He had that great mixture of charisma, fatherliness towards Hamilton, but like straight talking, like stuff needs to get done. It was great. He encapsulated all of that. Sharon Rose played Eliza. Her voice was amazing. She had such innocence and just such optimism, and then watching that break down, end of Act 1, finale of Act 1, this is right at the end of the song, and she's singing like, look around, isn't this enough? And I could really feel the dichotomy of, you're talking about his life, but you're also talking about yourself. It was so heartbreaking. And then it got to Burn, and I was in tears. I was just crying through that whole thing. I was like, no. She was very subtle. It was a point at the beginning I was like, I don't really know what's going on. You know when you watch a performance and you're like, I don't really know, but because it's all happening on like a subtle level, and then by the time you've like realized, oh my god, they've done an incredible job, you're like in bits on the floor. That's kind of what I got with her performance. It was incredible. And like her Burn as well, because Burn is one of those songs, you know, those songs where it's like, it's a heartbreak song and everyone's been mean to me and everything. It's really easy to just play the pity party and be like, my life is horrible, blah blah. She really got the anger in that song, and the like, I'm gonna say it, and like the fuck you. She got the fuck you before the it was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. Just that whole section, I was like in bits. It was like Burn, bit of levity and blow us all away, and then Stay Alive replies, and then Uptown, and I was just like, the woman next to me turned to see if I was okay, because I was like, I can't cry loudly. I was in bits. Tangent. Emily Louise Israel was great as Peggy / Mariah Reynolds. As Peggy, she was so young and vivacious. I don't know if that's the right word. I'll probably cut that. But like, you know, like this is not good English, but like frothy, you know, like frothy youthful innocence of like, oh, should we be doing this? But oh, this is so exciting, and I'm with my sisters, and no. And then like Mariah Reynolds was just like, like the red dress, the red lip, that kind of still like playing the victim, but like so like, I also love that they had her hair in locks. That was just me. I was just like, that switch was great. And also, I think it's because both felt really natural. She's clearly an actress that has both of those things inside her, or they were able to do a lot of work in the rehearsal room to get both sides of her, because it didn't feel, you know, sometimes when people have to play two completely different characters, sometimes one of those characters can feel forced because it doesn't go with that person's kind of natural presence or essence. It didn't feel like that at all. Both of them felt like I was watching that person on stage, if that makes sense. There was a lot of double casting between Act 1 and Act 2. So Jason Pennycook, my friend, hey, you're probably not watching this, but if you are, hey, going from Marquis de Lafayette to Thomas Jefferson. Emil Ruddock as Hercules Mulligan was great, and then completely different when he was playing George Madison. James Madison, when he was playing James Madison, completely different character, but I believed both of them. Carl Spencer as John Lawrence slash Philip Hamilton, that kind of almost Enjolrassian kind of revolutionary spirit, and then him as Philip Hamilton, especially when he's having to play like 9-year-old Philip Hamilton. You just believed it. It was great. I loved it. Let's talk about King George, who was played by Gavin Spokes. Gavin Spokes was freaking hilarious. King George is one of the roles, again, when you listen to the cast recording, you're like, this is a really fun song. I don't know how they're gonna do it. Or like the little clips that I've seen online from like promotional material for the show, he's very, very static. It was just great to see all those little interludes. And like a lot of it is quite static for that character, especially like the main song. The reprises he has more fun with. That man's comic timing, he's a brilliant comic and character actor. Just having seen him in this, it was genuinely laugh out loud funny. Also kind of layered in a way. I mean, King George isn't the deepest character in the show. He doesn't turn up that much. You got the entitlement, you got the arrogance, you got the anger, and then you got the confusion, and then you got the, oh my gosh, this is hilarious because it's all gonna go wrong. It was great. I loved it. Now let's talk about Aaron Burr. Simon Anthony Roden. Now, again, kind of similar to Sharon Rose's performance at the beginning, he was doing so little that it was kind of like, what's going on here? But mate, wait for it, I was crying. And that's not really a weepy song, but I guess because I knew the story, I knew what was going to happen, I was just like, no. And also his voice was incredible, so that was probably a mixture of incredible, what are you doing, Aaron Burr? When you see someone not doing that much, and then you see them let it out in the moments where they let it out, and then you're like, oh, that's restraint, but it doesn't look like restraint. But then also it wouldn't look like restraint because he doesn't want to let any of that show any. There were layers, guys. There were layers. I think there were a lot of performances for me personally that were a masterclass in less is more, and really kind of just trusting in being as opposed to doing stuff. I think it's really easy as an actor, and I know I'm probably guilty of it. Obviously I can't see myself in performance, but I just have a feeling that I can be guilty of it, of needing to feel like you're doing things, whereas there were some performances that were like, these guys are just being, and that is really powerful, because when they can't just be anymore and they have to action or they have to emote, they can't hold it in anymore, then it's like, fuck, do you know what I mean? Sorry, this video is really sweary, but I have a lot of emotions. Yeah, it was brilliant. His performance was brilliant, and seeing, I don't want to spoil how it ends, but like his last song, The World Was Wide Enough, it was devastating seeing this man being like, I've ruined my life. Yeah, it was, yeah. Me from the editing room. Hi, how you doing? It's a couple of days later, I had a bit more time to reflect and collect my thoughts, particularly about Simon Anthony's performance, because I was a little bit speechless, if you can't tell, still a little bit speechless. But one of the things that I've been thinking about is the fact that he didn't play the villain at all. That's partly to do with the writing. I didn't really talk about the writing in this video, but I personally think the writing is excellent, and there are no real archetypes or stereotypes. There isn't a baddie in any way. None of the characters are written that way. Obviously, Hamilton is the protagonist of the show, and there are antagonistic characters, Burr of which being one at points. But also, I think, you know, playing the end result of the show is definitely a trap that an actor could fall into, and Simon Anthony doesn't do that. He really got us as the audience to understand and empathise with him. To take Wait For It as an example, that song, you really see why Burr is the way he is, and in his performance of that song, Simon Anthony of course played the anger, played the frustration at Hamilton, the jealousy, the ambition, arrogance in a little way, but also you saw his fear, you saw his pain, you saw his confusion, you saw the underlying emotions that were fueling all of that, and you really did sympathize and empathize with him, even as he was going kind of on his downward trajectory, like following that fatal flaw of his to its inevitable conclusion in the end. And again, with that restraint, which I mentioned, when you see in those moments, like Wait for It, like Room Where It Happened, you see all of that come to the fore. You see what the subtext is, when the subtext becomes the text. And it was just heartbreaking. With that performance, you'd want to root for him and get him to not do what he ends up doing. Obviously, I knew how it was going to end, so I was just like, why? No. The dramatic irony was strong. But yeah, it was a brilliant performance. I think it's going to be one of those performances that stays with me for quite a while. That's all I kind of wanted to add, really. Back to the original recording. Bye, guys. So this show is very expensive. That's one of the reasons that I've put off seeing this show a lot, is that I couldn't really justify the cost. I didn't think in my head. Do I think this show is worth £250 a ticket? I don't think any show is worth that much. However, obviously I didn't buy my own tickets, but I know how much the tickets cost. It was less than £100. Just saying that. And I think the ticket price that Josh paid for our tickets was worth it. Like, £100 for the stalls. We didn't pay as much as that, but like roughly £100 for the stalls I think is worth it if you can afford it. Like I said, I don't know what the experience would be if you were in either of the circles. I do think theatrically this show is incredible. One of the things Josh said that I completely agree with is that it is art, which sounds really wanky, but it is a real artistic piece that also happens to be commercial. It's kind of hit all of the points that you want theatre to be. It's entertaining, it makes you feel, it's cathartic, it's artistic. I think the show is worth seeing. So if you can afford to go. I would say it's a kind of show where, because the auditorium is quite big, it's 1,500 seater. So I'd say it's worth saving up to get as close as you can as possible to get a decent seat so you can feel in it and feel like immersed in it, rather than be like seat 1,490 and just feel so disconnected from what's happening. Having said that, there were probably things that I missed being towards the front of the stalls that, you know, if I was further back and I could see more of an overview, I would really enjoy. I think that's another great thing about theatre, is that different seats give you different perspectives and different views. So don't bankrupt yourself. Nothing is worth bankrupting yourself. But like, you know, if you want to save up and get a ticket, then absolutely. I think the issue of tickets being £250+ is a whole other issue and probably a video for another time. It does sadden me that it has made this show very exclusive. I mean, I guess the upside is I don't think Hamilton's going anywhere anytime soon. Ticket prices have gone down. I don't think top price are £250 anymore. But it's still a lot of money, and it's a lot of money if you don't know if it's going to be your jam. But I think if you're watching this channel and you're into theatre, I think it's going to be your jam. I was genuinely worried that because of the hype I wouldn't enjoy it, that it would have been overhyped and I would have just been like, yeah, it was good, but, you know. I think that's the most I've cried watching a show, and I think some of that was the whole finally getting to see it moment. You know, when you can hear something on a recording and you're like, oh, that's so juicy, and then you hear it live and you're like, oh, it gets into you, you know. Mate, I was gone. I was mouthing the words. I wasn't singing out loud. I'm not that kind of person, but I could feel my mouth moving. I was like, yeah, no. Final thoughts. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. The show was amazing. It lived up to everything I hoped it would live up to. The cast are incredible. If you can, I would say go see it. Go see it. I'm sorry if you were expecting me to like trash it, but I can't. You know, there's a reason. There's a reason that it's been hyped up. It is genuinely incredible. So incredible that I bought merch. Well, Josh bought me merch for my birthday, but I was like, can you get me some like pins? And like, can you get me a shot glass? And he got himself a shot glass. Josh never buys merch, right? And he got himself a shot glass. Also, you know, we both like whiskey, so, you know, the shot glass is gonna get you. So it wasn't like a wasted purchase, but, you know, that's a testament. Final thing is the theatre is stunning. Cameron Mackintosh knows how to look after his theatres. That building is beautiful. So if that helps you justify the high ticket prices, to be like, I get to look at this beautiful theatre, like marble floors, he looks after his buildings. That theatre is stunning. That's all I want to say. So that was me seeing Hamilton. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to do a video about ticket prices, I did write one and kind of film it, but it felt a bit, I don't know, I don't think I got the tone right. But if you do want to see a video about that, then please let me know and I'll definitely do that for you. Like for the bandana, like for the no makeup. Yeah, and thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, friends.